I'd like you to imagine this morning, you wake up, go, take a shower, brush your teeth, do all the yeses as they say sometimes, and you finally get down to the kitchen where your coffee is ready. You go outside to the front door, you pick up your newspaper, go back inside, and you sit down in your chair and you drink your coffee that you just need to have because you're just not awake yet. As you read the newspaper, you find some interesting information. Finally, you get to the obituaries and you read that yesterday you passed away. Can you imagine the feeling of reading that you passed? That you no longer exist? That you're no longer part of this world? What would go through your mind? Anybody? What would go through your mind?
It's got to be some kind of mistake.
Big mistake, right? Because you're here, you can feel yourself, you're alive. How could it be that you passed? And you read on, and it says, you passed away, and the thing that you're most famous for is creating a device that killed lots of people at once. Is that how you want to be remembered? Well, Alfred Nobel said the same thing. Alfred Nobel created dynamite, and dynamite was used to kill people at one point. And that was his legacy. He didn't like his legacy and went on, and if we all know the Nobel Peace Prize, started working on creating ways of making more peace within this world. That's a better way to be remembered, right? Absolutely. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I challenge you today that today should be a day of change for yourself. You should consider what you can do differently so that your current legacy might be worse than what you really want, and that you look to change that legacy. I want you to imagine these two thoughts. The first thought is of a person, very skinny, probably underweight, probably doesn't eat much, probably looks maybe even a little unhealthy, or someone a little plump, full of food, eats a lot, kind of like me, see? All 244 pounds. But which one would you say is more likely to be a chef? Which one? The plump one or the skinny one?
Plump one.
Could you ever see the skinny one as a chef? Does the picture fit?
No.
Why not?
They're not good at eating.
Too skinny, right? But that's our body. We have to nourish it. We have to nourish our minds, our thoughts, the ideas that we present to people. We have to find ways of making ourselves better. And we have to be like the fat baker. We have to be like someone who's always nourishing their mind. Now the question to you is, are you doing that? There are books out there, Sharpen the Saw. Does anybody know where that came from?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Exactly, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? And what does it say? You have to read, you have to listen, you have to understand, you have to present. That's all part of sharpening the saw, practicing. Robert Kiyosaki, the writer of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, very good, states that many people make the mistake that you must not stop learning after college. They go through college, they get there, and they learn all of the information they need to know according to them. Then they get to the real world. I learned the information I needed. I can start working, and I'm going to do what I learned. Now, if any one of you are in the computer industry or know anything about computers, today, it's great. Tomorrow, what's the word?
Obsolete.
Obsolete. The question is, do you want to be like a computer? So are you learning? Now, I challenge you that someone invested some time in you. It might have been in high school, teacher, coach, might have been in college, professor, counselor, some kind of club or organization you were dedicated to. And for some of us, even after the fact, with something like Toastmasters, where you have mentors and people who motivate you every single day. So let me ask the crowd here, who helped you change your life? Who helped you decide that your saw needed to be sharper?
Myself,
Yourself.
yes.
Nobody inspired you? Nobody gave you some kind of input that said, you need to get better?
Well, yes.
Oh.
I have many other comments to improve and do better. But initially, everything came from us. In other words, if you are doing it and you're going to go down on your spirit or no more enthusiasm, no matter how the other people is going to tell you something, you're going to continue like that. So people's thoughts are very important for us, but at the same time, what is important is what we are doing with ourselves, how we can motivate ourselves even if we have many other problems.
Okay.
I know that the rest, they have the reasons. They are right.
Let me pose the question to you a little bit differently. Did you ever see someone in your life and you said, I would like to be more like that person? That person inspired you to become a better person.
Oh, yes.
That's what I'm looking for.
Exactly. Thank you.
Who?
I have a boss when I was 18 years old.
Okay.
He was he was in late 60s, and he was a great boss. He was very strict. He made me cry sometimes, but always I have him as my model, my role model. Why? Because he was the person that we need, demanding, strict, disciplined, and even at his age, he was very open-minded on the business and pushed the people who wants to overcome all the obstacles in order to get the goals.
Very good. Thank you so much. Give her a hand, everybody. What about yourself, Delia? Who inspired you? Who told you you need to become a better person?
My astronomy teacher. When I was in here in America, it would have been 9th grade. I discovered that you could be as specific as an astronomer and as savvy as this man was. This man had it all. He was an incredible role model. He was a great teacher. He had the ability to inspire us in such a way that a quarter of the class wanted to become an astronomer just because the way this man had to convey his thoughts and inspire us all to discover more about the world that surrounded us. And he was an incredible role model for all of us, but he made us waste some time because we went to astronomy just because of him and then had to turn our backs and, in my case, go into law. But that was a great inspiration.
Very good. I'm sorry, Nick, it would seem that you no longer inspire Delia. What does that mean? That means that we have people that have to invest time in us, right? People who have taken the initiative to say, I'm going to give something of myself to that person, whether it be a little thing or a lot of information, to make sure that they can become someone who they want to be. We all have our people. We all have our teachers. I remember mine, Mr. Oldham. He was my marketing teacher. He's a big guy, old, funny. You'd tell him he got a haircut, and he would say, yes, I cut them all. He was always fun, inspiring, motivating, challenging us. And what I liked most about him was he always gave us real-world ideas, activities that we got to partake in and use in class. But if it wasn't for those people that decided to invest a little bit in yourself, a little bit in you, where would you be? Could you imagine, Patricia, not having that boss at 18 who made you cry and inspired you to be a better person? Delia, could you imagine not being able to see that astronomy teacher? What would you do without that person? So now the question for you is, are you that same person for somebody else? Could you potentially change someone else's life? Now, there's a gentleman by the name of John C. Maxwell. Does anybody recall that name? John C. Maxwell? 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And he says that I can do one of two things. I can either teach one person at a time, or I can teach the masses. His idea is that if you teach the masses, you'll cover more people, and that those people will cover more people. The question to you is, whose life are you changing?
Okay, at this time, I'd like to recognize Nick.